an epic job with this project, and I'm super impressed with Ryan Coogler, Michael B. Jordan, all those guys. I mean, I really think that they are representing at a very high level. I think Ryan Coogler is my favorite director, right with Jordan Peele. I love Jordan Peele, and so the movie Sinners has just been doing extremely well. My wife and I are going to go see it today, and so I said, maybe it would be fun to do kind of an economic analysis on the movie so we can really kind of look at this and kind of extract and understand how wealth is created and what that looks like. And so, before I get started, I want to mention to everybody really quickly the Economic Elevation Summit is happening in Miami, May 9th and 10th. It's a great place to network with wealth builders that are oriented toward the community. And you can also take a look by going to economicelevationsummit.com. And what I'll do also is I will text out for those of you that want to attend virtually. I'll text out virtual passes as well. I'm hoping that you'll want to be in the room because being in the room is how you connect and meet the people that you can build with and start businesses with, and maybe somebody that's cute that you can even date if you want to. But if you can't be in the room, I understand. It's up to you. It's up to you. But I'll be there, and you can talk to me. We can hang out and kind of just make plans and stuff like that. So anyway, so as we start Money in the Morning, so I want to ask, is how many of you saw this movie, Sinners? Did anybody see it? Anybody else? My wife and I are going to go see it this afternoon. She's been asking about it for a few days, and I just decided, just a little marital tip: you should go on dates with your wife every now and then. So I said, "Hey, baby, let's go on a date. You're looking good today." And so we're gonna go out to see this movie, and it's funny because when after 40, when you go to the movies, you have to take a nap before you go to the movies, or you're gonna fall asleep. So whenever we go to the movies, we end up crashing in the front row or like wherever we're sitting at. We're like snoring, and I snore sometimes, and it's just embarrassing. I don't know why she puts up with me, but anyway, the movie is called Sinners, and I just and I like first of all I like the concept. Like people keep telling me I need to see it because they're like, yeah, you would love it. It's all about black ownership. I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Black ownership is black power. I think that we often delude ourselves into believing that we can have black power without having black wealth, and that just doesn't happen in a capitalist society. It's like I don't know. It's like maybe like trying to win a beauty pageant when you think you can be 400 pounds and ugly. I'm not saying that it's not possible. I mean, sometimes they'll give it to the person that's not attractive, but at the end of the day, you have to have the currency of the day, the currency that matters in the situation that you're in. And in America, capitalism is currency. Capitalism is what, or wealth makes you beautiful, and unfortunately, good or bad. I'm not saying that this is the way things are supposed to work. This is not the way the world is. I think I've mentioned to you all before that America is way too capitalist for my taste anyway. America is a little too obsessed with money, and we're paying a price for it because most other areas of quality of life we're lacking in the United States. But when it comes to making money, Americans are better at making money than anybody else on the planet. And that's why the Chinese are very nervous about going to war with us. As much as the country has been harmed by Trump's tariffs, for sure. Prices are going to go up. Yeah, we'll go to the grocery store and the lettuce will cost, $3 instead of 250 or something. But for the Chinese, actually, the manufacturing sector has already started to be hit tremendously because they make a lot of their money by manufacturing things and shipping them to Americans because Americans love to spend money. We will get up off a dollar in a minute. And we've been trained to do that. So just like the Chinese are trained to operate in unison, like as one big clump, almost like a cyborg from Star Trek. Americans are trained to be excessive consumers, and that's not so much good for the individual, but it's great for the country to some extent, and it's great for those who own assets and businesses. And that's one of the reasons why I've explained to you guys, why you should, why you want to be an investor. You want to be very careful about that because it's not so good for African Americans because we are trained to be the ultimate consumers of society. Okay, so anyway, let's get back to this movie Sinners. I want to talk to you guys about some of the economics behind the movie in terms of what's been going on. Ryan Coogler, not only did he make a great movie, but he's made some big money. In fact, the film actually, from what I understand, is setting like box office records for Uh, Basically the fact that it's actually not declining. Like typically for movies, the first weekend is like here, and then the next weekend is like a big drop. And his movie actually has not dropped off very much. In fact, more people are going to see it because they're hearing from their friends how good it is and stuff like that. And actually, I grabbed some stats on the movie just so we can you can kind of know how good it's doing. Basically, right now, it looks to me like he made 48 million the first weekend. Good for him. And which was in the projection was 35 to 45 million. So he did better than expected. Second weekend was 45.7 million. It seems like that was the most impressive, where literally most films have a big drop after the first weekend. He only had a 6% drop, and that is a record low decline for a major wide release. Like that's the second. So he set a record for a major film in terms of the percentage of the decline in revenue between the first week and the second week. So shout out to him. Shout out to him for knowing how to sell a movie and create something good. Total gross, if you want to know about total dollar amounts, the movie's made 168 million worldwide, 168.7 to be precise. With 128.8.7 million in the US and Canada, 40 million internationally. The production budget is between 90 and 100 million, but the break-even estimates, where you include marketing and everything else, are estimated to be between, it's a pretty big range, but they said between 170 and 300 million. So nobody knows, right? That's range is so big, it's hard to estimate anything. I think that they're happy, right? I feel like they're like, okay, we did good. We're glad we made this movie. Rotten Tomatoes scores 98%. I mean, shout out to them. Nothing you can say negatively about this film, in my opinion. I mean, it just seems like they really hit the nail on the head. And so you'll see more films like this coming out. You know, you got these great directors out there, him and Jordan Peele and Issa Rae and others, and my hope is that more opportunities get created for them. Now, now that we've gotten that part out of the way, I this is where I end up doing my deep dive analysis, right? This is where this is where I've become a little different from everybody else. I don't fit in a box. I'm not in the either. I'm not the raging fan box. I'm not the you be hating box. I go back and forth. You know, just like people are transgender, I'm trans opinion. I love looking at everything from every angle just to see like, okay, what's here? What's really going? What can we learn from this other than just the obvious, right? Because there's the obvious. Great movie, very successful. Was it Michael B. Jordan, amazing. Ryan Coogler, amazing. Love it. The other side of it is this, right? So, how many of you saw the deal that Ryan made with the studio? Did anybody see that part? Anybody hear about that? Let me give me a yes in the chat if you heard about the terms of the financial deal. And more specifically, Ryan Coogler did a great job of securing something that's a little bit different, right? You know, he didn't just sell his movie. He actually made a deal where he gets back ownership of the film after 25 years. Um, you know, and I love that. I think that's great. I mentioned to you a guy that I want to bring him in because he's a great guy. The guy from Different World, Daryl Bell. He played Ron, Dwayne Wayne's best friend, and he's talked about how they wanted to do reboots of A Different World, and they wouldn't really let them because this black show was white owned, and there's a lot of content out there, a lot of movies that we identify with, that we connect with, that we feel are a part of our culture, that are owned by somebody else, right? So it's kind of interesting because what you have to understand is that black culture basically is a financial asset, and you don't really want like your important assets to be really owned by other people. And so basically Ryan Coogler, shout out to him. He secured ownership for himself and his family 25 years from now. Also, there's some other stuff. I think he gets first dollar participation, where he gets to share the box office revenue from the first dollar. I had a long conversation with Will Smith's brother Harry, and he mentioned that back in the 90s when he negotiated Will's deals for that movie, the one where he was the last man on Earth or something. I forgot what it was called, but it was good. All the Will Smith, I just think Will Smith's a great He's just great. He's good at what he does, right? But he did that movie where he was the last man. He had the dog or something. He was like the last man on earth. I don't remember what it's called, but I watched it because I like Will Smith movies. And he mentioned how the deals back then were better because they would get first dollar participation, a percentage of gross as opposed to a percentage of profit. Because what he mentioned, I remember him mentioning this, is he said, according to Warner Brothers, Harry Potter the series has still not made a profit. And I said, "What?" I said, "Wait, Harry Potter, you really?" He said, "Yeah." He said, because profitability is something you can manipulate with your accounting numbers. So you can say, "Hey, we would give you a cut of the profits, but there are no profits. Sorry." And then when you go through and you look at the line items and what they spent money on, they have all this stuff, all this pork thrown in there where all these people made all this money before you got to the profit. So everybody ate before you, right? So first dollar is extremely important. Shout out to Ryan Coogler for doing all that and setting that example, and I think it's great. Um, and then what I remember another thing that Will's brother said. I don't think he minds me sharing this because he looks just like Will, which is really weird. I thought I was looking at Will Smith because they have the same eyes or something. But he's smart. He's smart. He likes finance and I do too. And that's why we talked for a long time. We also like World War II. Ironically, we talked a lot about World War II. I don't know why that happened, but it was cool. And but I remember him also mentioning that like Netflix came along and Netflix had a different business model from Hollywood. They received recurring revenue on a regular basis, so they were able to offer bigger amounts of money for films. So if you remember, I remember Will doing a movie on Netflix where he played a goblin or something, and it was like, or his partner cop was a goblin. It was something. It was a real weird movie, but I watched that too because I told you I like all the Will Smith movies. Anything Will Smith's in, I'm just gonna watch it because I think he's just a great actor. So long story short. What you have, Bright, thank you, Gary. Gary's obviously a bigger fan than me because I can't remember nothing. Um, but but yeah, so these Hollywood models have adjusted over time. Hollywood's an interesting place because a lot of attention is thrust on Hollywood. We go see these movies. They know how to market to you. They're very good at marketing to the demographic that they want to appeal to, namely African Americans, right? So when they put out a Black Panther movie, we all feel like we got to go see it, like it's a damn homework assignment, what's really a little bit frustrating for me, just as a person who cares about our community and more than I care about Disney's profits, is that I see that determination to go see the Black Panther, and I say, gosh, I wish we had an equal amount of determination when it came to building a black-owned school. Or this equal amount of determination when it comes to building up our families, right? As much determination as we have to go see Sinners, I'd like to match that with a determination to start black-owned businesses, or the determination we have to raise money for Kamala Harris or whatever Democrat they put in our face. I'd love for us to have that same determination when it comes to doing something for us, as opposed to us being determined to be a part of something that's led by somebody else. And what I want you to realize is that that's kind of a mindset. I need you to know that's a mindset, right? Like, for example, the whole weekend everybody was talking about Shador Sanders getting into the NFL, and people are outraged about it. Like it's wrong. They did him dirty. They didn't pick him, and there's a wide ranging set of debates. I've listened to a lot of different people, and there's some people who think that they were colluding and doing him wrong, and probably the NFL is a big plantation. We know this. It's been like that for a long time. And then there are others who say that Shador did the interviews incorrectly, that he didn't, he can't kind of came in and pretended like he was like an owner and really had all this, had all this leverage that he didn't really have, right? And I heard that was an interesting assessment. Somebody said, well, when you get past the third round, if they draft you after the third round, you're going to be a backup quarterback. And when you're a backup quarterback, he said, no organization wants the backup quarterback to be the narrative and the storyline, for the whole team, right? So it's almost like his attention became like a liability. Like, okay, if we got this guy who's the backup quarterback, how's he going to be a backup? When he's like the spotlight, so that kind of was an interesting conversation. But what wasn't happening, the conversation that's never really occurring, is how do black people end up in these situations in the first place, right? Where like how do we end up in these scenarios where we feel powerless and we're angry and frustrated and shaking our fist at the air because those wascally white people did it again. That wascally wabbit white man, he did it again. We would have had some black wealth if it wasn't for those pesky kids, like Scooby Doo. Those pesky white people. And I get it. So we become kind of like the Roadrunner and the Coyote. The Coyote always gets duped in the Coyote because he keeps falling for the same stuff. He thinks he's gonna catch the Roadrunner, and then the Roadrunner like drops a anvil on top of his head or whatever, right? Or he goes up and the Roadrunner gives him fake food, and the food really has dynamite in it, and he blows his face off. Just stuff like that, right? So we kind of end up in this perpetual state of constantly feeling frustrated and contained and controlled by other people and what other people are choosing to do. Because really, at the end of the day, you're kind of accustomed to being in this cage. It's a partnership. You enjoy being in the cage because if you really didn't enjoy it, if you're really frustrated by it, you would bust out of it. Like you would be willing to make the sacrifice required to get out of the cage by any means necessary, right? So because we're not yet frustrated enough, maybe there needs to be more oppression over a longer period of time or something, or some generation has to say, I'm sick of this shit. I'm not doing it anymore. Until that occurs, and the sacrifice is willing to be made, and the skill set is there to get out of the cage, then this is going to kind of be a perpetual cycle, right? Because when I'm sitting there watching Shador complain, I'm like, well, I mean, it is another person's business, another person's organization, and I don't know anybody, black, white, or otherwise, that's going to let you go into their organization and make the rules. That's my point, right? I kind of feel that with the NFL, the history is that we had a black version of the NFL, but we abandoned it because white people said, "Hey, come work with us," and we said, "Okay, boss, I'm coming." And instead, we did that instead of realizing that you had something that was so valuable that money should not be able to buy it. You have to have something. When you talk about culture, see, we export, black people, we export culture around the world. Our culture is $1 trillion commodity. Everybody want to be black. Everybody want to be black. In fact, first time I met, I had the honor of being friends with the CEO, former CEO of the Air Jordan brand, Larry Miller. He's a good brother, smart guy. He's the one responsible for resurrecting Michael Jordan's brand. When he took over, they were making about 300 million a year. When he left, they were making 3 or 4 billion a year. They'd become an absolute powerhouse. And one thing that I remember when I sat down with Larry and we talked, first thing he said to me that was really interesting was he said that the way they market their product is they pay very close attention to what the African American inner city male is doing. And I remember him saying that. And I said, "Oh my God." So so Chinese kids are buying these shoes. And I get lie, I was like, y'all shoes are too expensive for me. I ain't got that kind of money. I got money, but I ain't got money for that. And I love Larry. I just like, but I ain't got money for those. But I got some free ones because you know people and stuff, and they send you free stuff. So I got some free ones in the closet. So love the shoes. But I was like, wow. So all these people around the world are really copying us. Damn, that's crazy, right? And so your culture is this $1 trillion commodity that gets exported to the world, and tons of money gets made by a bunch of people. Now here's the question that has to be asked at the end of the day. The question you must ask is this, okay? And I'm gonna frame it like this. Um, Saudi Arabia. How does Saudi Arabia make their money? Where does that? If you go to Saudi Arabia, there's like Lamborghinis and Porsches and Bugattis everywhere. How do they afford all that stuff? The rapper oil, right? Yeah, the rapper Lil Wayne said he went to Saudi Arabia and they stopped him at the airport because they said he had more than $25,000 in his possession, which rappers they travel with lots of money. And they detained him, and the crown prince found out, and the crown prince was like like fix this immediately, right? Because he had brought Little Wayne over. Because our culture gets exported around the world, but it's not really our culture. Like some of that gangster stuff, that ain't really who we really are. That's like an act, right? But they love seeing us sort of fulfill that minstrel show. And he comes in and he says 25,000. I give gift more than 25,000. And he said he went through the airport and everybody was standing at attention, and everybody was like scared to death because the crown prince was in there, and then he to apologize. I think Wayne said that the guy sent him like a Rolls Royce to be like, here's a free Rolls Royce. I'm so sorry for your inconvenience. How cool, how crazy is that, right? They don't do stuff like that for us. But anyway, so your culture gets exported around the world. Now, here's the thing. The Saudis, they have insane amounts of money. The money comes from oil. As a result of the insane amount of money they make from oil, the whole community's living good. The whole hood is good in Saudi Arabia for the most part. Not, I mean, there's exceptions, of course, but you go to Dubai and other places. I don't know if it's the UAE or Dubai, one of those places. You gotta. There's some city, I forgot which one it is, but you gotta have like $10 million in assets to even be allowed to move into the city. It's kind of crazy. So with that being said, though, you see that the effects of that wealth like spread out everywhere, right? So many people are doing good. So I need to ask you this question. So given that black culture is also a $1 trillion commodity, probably as valuable as oil, or close to it, hip hop, very valuable. Do you feel that the effects of the economic benefits of black culture have been spread throughout the majority of the black community? Like you have $1 trillion worth of amazing athletes that have all become multimillionaires overnight. You have a lot of rappers and as well as just cultural influence. Period. Do you feel that it's spread out? Do you feel that most of us are benefiting from this, or is it a few people in the elite space? Well, it's not spread out at all, right? You can go. I can find some famous athlete or entertainer, and I can go to their old neighborhood, and their old neighborhood is just as poor and just as broken, just as the same unemployment rate as it was before they became famous. So the benefit. So the question then becomes like, well, why does this even matter? Like, how do we even benefit from this? Like, I mean, it's and what unfortunately it becomes it's trickled down to symbolism. It's become symbolism. And the mind is very powerful. The subconscious mind is even more powerful, and the consistent manipulation of the black subconscious mind is extremely profitable to do. So what the subconscious mind tells you is that symbolism is the same as substance. My wife, who helped us to create the first ever black financial therapy department in history, literally told me that in your subconscious mind does not know the difference between pretend and reality. So when you see your favorite celebrity making money and doing well, you see a Disney movie come out called The Black Panther and it makes a bunch of money. In your mind, you're like, look at this. We're making progress. Look at us. Look at us. We're doing great. And I'm not saying that there's not some joy in seeing this at all. But it's like, no, instead of saying, look at us, we're doing great, you might want to say, look at them, they're doing great. Right? Look at them. Because here's the thing that's the challenge that we have to overcome. When I see that Ryan Coogler made this amazing deal with Warner Brothers, or I see that the Black Panther made billions of dollars, and that there were some elite entertainers that and producers and executives that did well because of this, I don't see that as something that's moving the needle forward for the black community. You've always had black entertainers that were able to find their way to some money. And the challenge that you have to sort of solve is, well, if that's the case, and we've got all these examples of black people becoming millionaires right before our eyes, why has that not translated to an overall improvement in the quality of life of African Americans? Do you understand what I'm saying? So, so really, when I see what Ryan Coogler did with this awesome deal, let's circle back to that. And then he's going to make another Black Panther movie at some point. That's going to be amazing. I see great things for his family. I see great things for his circle. I see great things for the people that he's able to employ. And by God, for God's sake, I am not putting the fate of the whole black community on the back of Ryan Coogler, right? At all. But what I am saying is that at some point we have to really sort of figure out what these economic models really do and what they don't do. You understand? Like, and let me explain it like this. Let me go deeper into this. If you look at these major studios that control entertainment, that are able to mass market black culture and other cultures and make a ton of money, they come from a particular, most of them were started by a particular community. You know what community that is, right? It starts with a J, rhymes with you, right? Right? Ish, right? We know that community, right? And nothing against that community, but they've really mastered an understanding of economic models such that it would be very difficult for you to go find a Jewish community that's in dire poverty. It would be really hard. I would challenge you to go find me one Jewish neighborhood. I could find 50 black neighborhoods where somebody got shot yesterday. I can. I really can. Tell me if I'm wrong. It's easy. Go to West Side Chicago. Go to parts of South Central. You know what I mean? Some of that, right? But I want you to understand this. It would be really difficult for me to find even one Jewish community where people are getting killed on a regular basis. That's just a reality. That's a fact. That's not me trying to make you angry. I just challenge you to prove me wrong on that. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But what's occurred there, in my opinion, is that you do have the same scenario where they've got something that they're able to export to the world. They've got a specific business model that is applied that leads to their entire community having just an outsized amount of wealth and power. In fact, there's about 1/6 as many of them as there are of you. I think that the Jewish community is about 2.5% of the population. We're about 13%. So here you have a community that's smaller and not, but definitely not smarter than us. I think we got some brilliant people in our community. So the question then to ask is, how is it that they are able to have so much control? Because think about it like this. And I'm gonna ask you all a question. Let's go back to Ryan Coogler and his movie. I'm gonna go see his movie today. So I want to just be clear. I love Ryan Coogler. I think he's great. I love Michael B. Jordan. I love all of them dudes. Um, so let's circle back to his deal. He makes this deal with Warner Brothers. I think it's Warner Brothers. Tell me if I got the wrong studio. So the deal basically gives him like a first dollar cut of revenue, or he also gets ownership of the film in 25 years and complete creative control. I think those are the three key elements of the deal that made it unique and special and awesome. Um, so this is considered to be legendary, right? Historic. Like, oh my God, that's amazing. Great job. Black history. You go. Now let's switch one variable. I want you to ask yourself this. Okay, let's switch it. Let's assume that instead of a black man negotiating with a studio in an industry that's controlled by the Jewish community, let's assume that it's a Jewish guy negotiating with black people where we're the ones in control of the film industry, right? We're the ones in control. I want you to ask yourself if Ryan Coogler were a Jewish man and made that same deal, would they want to switch places with him? Like, would they want to say, hey, instead of us owning the studio and you getting ownership of your movie 25 years later, instead we're going to flip it because you got such a good deal. We want to be in your shoes. So we'll make the movie. We'll take ownership of your film 25 years later. We'll take a percentage of the revenue. You get to own Warner Brothers. You get to own the studio and make the bulk of the money and get to own the movie for the next 25 years. Do you think that they would take that deal? Do you think Warner Brothers, the people that run that studio, would be like, yeah, oh my God, black people are doing so great. I want to be where they are. Do you think that's my question? Answer me in the chat. What do you think? Like, do you think that they would want to switch sides? And okay, so I want to ask you this. I ask you this question for a specific reason. The reason I'm asking you this question is because I want you to understand what in that a lot of inequality is built off of your prior expectations of how things are supposed to go down in the first place. What you consider to be exceptional is driven by what your expectations are. Right? When you're black, your expectations are extremely low. So when somebody does something that's like, decently good, you're like, woo, yes, that's amazing. Right. But if you're not black, your expectations are at a different level. So it leads to different outcomes. Outcomes are connected deeply to expectations. And how you feel about those outcomes matter. This is true with stock market investing. This week, a bunch of tech companies are going to release their earnings, and everything about whether the stock price goes up or down is going to be connected to benchmarks and expectations. Thank you, Kevin. That's a great word. Benchmarks, right? What are your prior benchmarks? In statistics, they call these Bayesian priors. And I remember studying this in graduate school and thinking about it very deeply, mostly from a mathematical standpoint. I said, damn, that's like life. Your expectations drive everything. Like, what do you expect from yourself, right? So, if anybody remember when Chris Rock was talking about how he had friends that would be like, "Well, I take care of my kids," and Chris was like, "Fool, you're supposed to take care of your kids. Like, you want a cookie? You think you get a trophy for taking care of your kids?" But that statement makes sense for somebody that has low expectations, and the question then becomes, where did you get those expectations? What made you think that you are an exceptional human being because you do what every parent is supposed to do, which is taking care of your children? Well, maybe it's because you came from a space where the expectations were low. Maybe your examples were low. Maybe you thought, well, because I'm a black man and this is what black men do. But did y'all see, I saw this you know how people are making those little dolls with AI now, and they like where somebody I did one of myself where I was like the Dr. Boyce doll. If you go to my Instagram, Dr. Boyce Finance, those dolls there, and they had one that was called the Black Father, and it was terrible. They had some they had what was it? They first of all, I'll just say this: they had a bunch of little accessories. I don't remember what they were, but the doll was like literally missing. Like the doll was gone. Like it wasn't even in the thing. And it's like this is the reputation of the black father. So because the milk, thank you. The milk, there was milk there and there was something else. And yeah, he had gone to the store for to get a pack of cigarettes and he was just gone. So it was funny, but it wasn't funny, right? It's funny, you laugh to keep from crying, that kind of thing. I didn't know my daddy. When he died, it was just a Tuesday to me when somebody told me that he died. I didn't even know this man. So here's the deal. Expectations are everything. That's the point. Expectations are everything. So what I would say to you, first question I'm gonna ask you to ask yourself is, what are your expectations for yourself? What are your expectations for your children? If you send your kid to school and you expect straight A's, then you're going to get something close to that benchmark. If you're expecting them to barely get by, then you're going to get something there. When I was in college, I got in a lot of fights growing. I grew up in the '80s and stuff when we used to fight all the time. And there was this boy, I never forget him. His name was Pete, and he was such an asshole. He called my girlfriend ugly, and that made me want to really kick him in the face. But then the other thing was Pete. But here's the thing: because the problem was she actually kind of was ugly at that. So maybe that was what it. Maybe I was mad because he was telling the truth. Anyway, so so going back, well, maybe she's had an ugly person. You know what? She had an ugly personality too. That's what made it bad. That's what made her ugly. So anyway, so Pete he calls my girlfriend ugly, and I'm just like ready to beat this guy up. And I remember that my comeback to him because I was a good. I had straight A's, and so I'm 19, and I'm getting in his face, and I'm like, what's your GPA? You dumb MF. I was cussing and everything. And he said 2.4. And I started like clowning him, right? And I'm like, you big dummy, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, but here's what's funny, right? So to defend himself, he comes back and he's like, well, at least I'm here. At least I'm still in school. And I remember as I reflect on that moment, and I was embarrassing myself. You ain't supposed to act like that. But I was 19. Your brain ain't even fully developed. Plus, I was mad. You full of testosterone. I ain't no punk. And but the thing about that moment was, I remember noticing, interesting, we have different expectations for ourselves. We have different expectations. In my mind, if I didn't make an A in the class, I was mad about it. I expected A's in everything. But in his mind, he was succeeding because he hadn't flunked out. And because our expectations were different, the amount of pressure we put on ourselves was different. I would be in the library studying till 10 o'clock at night on a Saturday. He'd be at the step show, he'd be at the parties, right? Because he'd done enough to get his 2.4. And it was interesting because I remember when I went to there was this place that black students would go to because they were all, because they were real concerned about Kentucky. University of Kentucky is kind of a racist school, and they're still racist. They just act like they're better now, but they're not much better. But they would have like all the black students go to this place where they would help them to make sure we didn't flunk out because we were considered like at risk, I guess, because we were black. And I remember that I was kind of like just super motivated about everything, and I had a baby that semester, and I was just determined to succeed in my life. And I remember saying to the lady, I said, I want to make straight A's while I'm here. I'm gonna make straight A's. And I'll never forget the lady goes, if you think you're gonna get out of here without ever making a B, you got another thing coming. And I remember being so upset because I was thinking, you're supposed to be helping me. You're supposed to be encouraging me. And here I am telling you about my dream. It sounds like a crazy dream, but it's my dream. And instead of saying, wow, that's a really big goal, you're going to have to really work for that. Because there were white kids that were making straight A's. Wait, so why was it impossible for me as a black man to make straight A's? And why would you ever start the conversation by telling me that I'm in for a rude awakening? You got another thing coming and all this other stuff. And no, I didn't have the baby with the ugly girl. That thank God, because that'd have been an ugly baby. But my daughter was beautiful because her mama was. So anyway, so let's circle back. Y'all see y'all getting me distracted. Ask about my old ugly girlfriend from college. So here's the deal. Um, I remember thinking about that and thinking, man, this is crazy that even the people who care about me are helping me are actually limiting me. Do you get what I'm saying? Do you understand? And she wasn't trying to do that. She in her mind, she's like, I just want him to be more realistic and and all these other things and all these black boys, they're struggling. So I just want to make sure he stays in school. But I was like, no, I want to fly high. And I had to so here's the deal. Here's what I ran into because I had other people. I had another friend, I'll never forget. I had another guy that was supposed to be my mentor, and I told him, I said, "Yeah, I think I can make straight A's," and he was like, "That's not possible." He literally told me it wasn't possible. I'm like, "But white people do it all the time. Like, how do you tell me it's impossible? There's white people who do it." And I remember and that semester I got straight A's. It was my freshman year. And I was fired up. I went to him and he said, so how did your grades come out this semester? I said, I made straight A's. And it was like, fool, you sucker, you punk. Like I was mad. And what I thought here was why was I so mad? Well, the reason I was mad, because I gotta find a way to get in touch with my emotions on this. And this really connects. I'm gonna circle this back to Ryan Coogler, I promise. I was mad because I felt like I had multiple adversaries in trying to achieve my goal. First off, it was already hard as hell to make A's in every class. Plus I had financial problems. I didn't have no money. My baby was coming. It was a very stressful time, right? So that was obstacle number one. Obstacle number two is that white people have always been white, and University of Kentucky is the whitest of the white schools that you're ever going to find. You had some of the most racist sons of bitches that you would ever meet in your life who didn't want to see the black kids sitting in the front row on top of everything, answering every question. I had resistance from the structural racism around me. But the third obstacle I had was the fact that even my own people were not supporting what I was doing. They didn't, so I had people telling me that it's impossible. That doesn't help me achieve the damn goal. Help me solve the problem. Stop telling me why I'm gonna fail, right? Number two, I was looked at as a nerd. A lot of girls, they were talking about we can't find a good man. I mean, I don't know how good of a man I am, but I know I was at least gonna work hard enough to be a successful man. So what do you mean? Like you're making fun of me now because I'm not throwing my life away like the cool guy down the hallway? Like that as a 19-year-old, that's like, well, maybe I am studying too hard. Maybe I do need to fit in. And thank God I didn't care about fitting in. Fitting in to hell with that. I don't want to fit in with a losing culture. So I had all these different obstacles that and imagine a different world, right? Imagine a different world where we are propelling our children to greatness. Imagine a different world where when somebody walks in and says, "Hey y'all, I'm starting a business," and the whole family's like, way to go. You got this. Where do I invest? Can I buy your product? I know people who need your product. Can I help? What can I do to help? You go. You got this. You got this. You got this. Every morning they're calling you with a motivational speech telling you how you can succeed no matter what, right? Like imagine that world. Imagine that. Right? Imagine if we told our kids, yeah, you should make straight A's because that's what being black actually means. Yeah, you should be making millions of dollars because shoot, being black is wealth. Your melanin is a freaking gold mine. Like you literally by your birthright are supposed to succeed. You're supposed to be the boss. You're supposed to invest. You're supposed to be looking good, feeling good, and on top of the world. Right? That's who you are. That's what you're maintaining. That's the legacy that you're carrying forward. Do you understand what I'm saying? Right? Like imagine that, right? And here's where I'm going at with this. Let's go circle back to the Ryan Coogler thing. I was really happy for Ryan Coogler and his family for securing this deal. I thought it was great. He clearly has high expectations for himself as a director. He does great work. He's amazing. But two things came to mind. One thing was, okay, we're celebrating the economic success of a celebrity, but what does that really mean for the rest of us? What do we expect for ourselves? And then secondly, I again going back to the example earlier when I said, do you think that the Jewish and white people that own Warner Brothers would trade places with Ryan Coogler? Like, do you think that the deal that they consider to be exceptional for him, would they consider that to be an exceptional deal for themselves? And almost all of you, I think every one of you said no. Like, because, well, why? Well, because who would want to trade places with a Negro? Who would ever want the deal that black people get? It's good for you. We can celebrate you, but shoot, for us, we wouldn't take that garbage. We're not pleased. Right? Well, you know what? I think that self-esteem is important in these situations. I think that we also deserve the big piece of chicken. Right? I don't just get I enjoy watching a few black people do well in Hollywood and stuff like that, but I really believe that we should have our own industry. I'm happy that Shador Sanders got drafted, but we bring the juice to sports. We are the best athletes on the planet. So why do we not have our own sports league? Well, it's really expectations. Like, where did you start the conversation about your economic status in this world? Expectations are everything. If I was to break down for you how a stock is priced in the market, one of the biggest variables in the pricing of a stock, my expertise was asset pricing. How do you put a financial number on the value of an asset? Expectations is everything. Expectations is everything. When you talk about valuing yourself, expectations is everything. When you talk about valuing other people, expectations is everything. When you meet a black man that's running a business, the way you value that business, expectations is everything. And you know as well as I do that we don't value ourselves the way we should. We don't value each other the way we value that white man. We don't value our community. We don't value what we have because if we valued what we had, we wouldn't have gave it away so easily when we used to run the damn Negro leagues. Do you understand that? Like almost like a woman with low self-esteem who just really wants to be with this man even though she knows he's abusive. But so when he calls, she comes running because she does not value herself enough to even have any standards in terms of what is required to get her attention. All he got to do is snap his fingers and she comes running. We have to understand that self-love, when we mentioned this before, self-love is connected to self-respect, connected to self-esteem, which connects to how you value yourself. And the way you value yourself, the way you value what you have, plays a huge role in what you expect, knowing your worth. It plays a huge role in what you're willing to um, sell. And y'all know as well as I do, we got a whole lot of our people that will sell out in a second. Well, why would they sell out? Well, because they think somehow that some amount of money is worthy of them giving away something that money should not be able to buy. See, you got to understand that culture is heavy. Culture is important. Culture is connected to psychology. So when they talk about black culture being exported around the world and trillions of dollars being made from that, there's also a dimension of culture that just connects to pride, self-esteem, and dignity. And there are cultures where they say there's certain things about our culture that you can't buy it. You can have $1 trillion and you can't buy it from us because this is sacred. This is like close to God for us. In fact, let me break it down like this. Does anybody know the history? Since we were talking about Shador and the NFL and all that, does anybody know what happened in the 1980s? See, y'all don't understand. Donald Trump's been seen as an asshole for a long time. People that follow him have always known he's a narcissist and has this problematic personality. So, does anybody know what happened in the 1980s when Donald Trump tried to become an owner of an NFL team? Anybody know about that? Anybody know that story? When Trump was like, "Hey, I'm rich. I'm known for how rich I am. I want to go buy a football team." Does anybody know what the NFL did? They said, no, sir, you're not, you don't fit our culture. So we don't care how much money you have. You can't buy an NFL team. You can't buy even a percentage of a team. They blocked him. They told him to carry his ass on somewhere. So in fact, he created the whole USFL just to get leverage to allow him to take ownership in an NFL team. So maybe part of the reason he's mad at the NFL is because they told him they trumped Trump. They pulled the big joker out on Trump. So they trumped his Trump card and they said, "Yes, sir. We know you have lots of money. Yeah, we know your name is known around the world. Yeah, we know that you're probably more famous than all of us put together. But there's nothing you can do to become part of this exclusive club or to take ownership in the thing that we possess. We are not selling to you. You can't write a check big enough to be up in here. So what I'm saying to you is that my dream, my American black American dream would have been if the owners of the Negro Leagues had trumped racism, trumped white supremacy, trumped the white man's dominance by understanding that much of his dominance was driven by the money in his pocket and just simply said, yeah, you're going to always have more money than me, but you ain't got more black pride than I do. You don't have more dignity than I do. You don't have the things that money should not be able to buy, so you can't buy this league. This league is our possession. We own this. We're giving this to our kids and our grandkids. We got the best athletes in the world. That's why you're knocking at our door, because we got a Jackie Robinson. We got a Satchel Paige. We got stuff that you'll never have. You'll never have a white Michael Jordan or a white Shaquille O'Neal. Only a black woman can give birth to that, which means that the womb of the black woman is damn near priceless, right? Because only we possess that. You don't have that, and you can't buy that. You can't. There is no white Muhammad Ali. We make these things. We manufacture this product. We want to maintain control and ownership of this thing. You can't buy this. Keep your money in your pocket. We're going to make our money. We'll just wait. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you get what I'm saying? Like you have to really value what you are, what you have, and what you built, so that so somebody can't come along and write a check and steal your whole damn legacy. There should be black children right now that are multi-billionaires because they own entire teams in the Negro Leagues. They should have a black-owned NFL where black people own those teams, where we are recruiting the Shador Sanderses and anybody else that we want. But we don't have all that because somebody got excited because Jackie Robinson got a damn job. I don't care about one black person getting a job. I don't care about one black person going to Warner Brothers and making one movie. I don't care about any celebrity doing well for themselves. We've had that all the time, and I'm nothing against them. I'm happy for them, but I really want us to understand the bigger picture and how this economic game is played at the highest levels. It comes down to expectations. What do you value? Is everything for sale? Is everything for sale? Is money the only measuring stick that you have? Have you ever seen somebody who only picks a man based on how much money he has? That's kind of sad. That's really sad. That's that because there's a lot of terrible people that have lots of money, and you don't want to be under the control of a terrible person. They're gonna abuse you. He's gonna pee on you. He's gonna humiliate you. He's gonna take things from you that money cannot buy, things you can't repair, things you'll never get back. So you have to elevate, consciously elevate. Conscious elevation, particularly economically, what the way I see that, and this is mathematical actually, is when you go from one-dimensional thinking to multidimensional thinking. Yes, money matters. Yes, money's valuable. I'll never forget that. But this matters and this matters and this matters and this matters. And when I'm measuring my worth, I'm not gonna measure my worth by the size of my bank account because that's gonna limit the greatness and exceptionality that I have as a member of this prestigious and extraordinary community. I have a legacy, sir, that you can't put a price tag on. So don't think you can come up in here and write a check and just snap your fingers and make something happen. Most of our oppression, control about other communities comes down to the fact that somebody has more money than us, and then we start to feel inferior, and there's no reason for you to allow yourself to ever feel that way. So I want to circle and finish up on this point. I think Ryan Coogler, I'm happy for him actually. I don't, and I hope I don't sound like I'm hating on anything that they're doing. I really don't want that to sound that way at all because that's not my intention at all. It's really me saying that we all deserve to be successful. We all deserve to be powerful. What unfortunately happens in Hollywood is they can't hire everybody. They can't hire every talented black person in the community. They can't partner with every potential Issa Rae that's out here. They can't work with every Black Ryan Coogler, right? So what we have to do is we have to create spaces where we can have hundreds of Ryan Cooglers out here, right? Where we're literally, do you know, for example, I was talking to students in stock market class and we were looking at a company that someone wanted me to analyze. And I said, "Oh, this company's worth a billion dollars. That's considered a small business in the in publicly traded market. In the white world, that's a small business. That's a kind of business that no one knows about. It's a tiny company, relatively speaking. Isn't that fascinating that in their world, a billion-dollar company is a small business, but in our world, that $1 billion company would be the beacon of light for the whole black community. So I kind of feel that we have to set higher standards, think on a higher plane, just understand what economic elevation really looks like and what it can do for us. And I believe if you do that, you're going to find results that aren't just symbolically satisfying. They will actually have the substance that you need to know, okay, I got some real black power up in here. And it starts with not worshiping money as the only measuring stick of economic or of black success. So that's my 2 cents. I'm done talking. Thank you guys for listening. Couple things I want to mention. One, the Economic Elevation Summit's coming up in Miami, May 9th and 10th. You can go to, if you want to take a look, you can go to economicelevationsummit.com. That's the URL, economicelevationsummit.com. Number two, I put together that list of stocks in Japan that you can take a look at. Japanese companies. I think Japan's a great place to diversify in terms of putting money. So I put together that list. It's ready. I will text it out to you later on this afternoon. If you want to receive it, make sure you're on the text list for this class. You can get on that text list by texting the word morning, MORNING, to the phone number 87948. Text morning to 87948. Or you can also, if you live overseas, you can go to drboyceelevate.com. That's drboyceelevate.com. Third, the financial flashcards. We made some stock options flashcards for kids. I told you all that because I believe we are supposed to be the best. One thing that I think you can do as a parent is summer's coming. Teach your kids about stock options. Stock options will give them options because it's literally one of the best, most fluid markets in the world. And I believe that your kids deserve to make money without working. So if you want to take a look at the stock options flashcards, here is the link. I'm gonna put the link in the chat, so feel free to go take a look. I'm going to put that here so you guys can grab it. And this is something that we were really excited about. And unless I don't know of anybody else out there that there's a link in there. Let me know if you see it. I don't know of anybody else out there that's ever created like stock options flashcards for kids. So I'm super excited about that. But it goes back to when I was at Syracuse University. I remember noticing how financial literacy in America is not very good, and our opportunity in terms of equalizing the wealth playing field is just committing ourselves to making sure that our kids spend as much time learning about their economics as they spend doing anything else, right? So the amount of time they spend playing football, they spend that same amount of time learning wealth. The same amount of time they spend learning basketball, same amount of time learning wealth. Same time they spend learning how to twerk and whatever else people do. Um, Spend that same time building wealth. Same amount of time people spend learning how to get a job. They spend that same amount of time learning how to get some wealth. So right now, if you want to know what's happening in our household, we got a 17-year-old who's about to go off to college, and she's going to have a career and everything else. I think she's going to do pre-med, and I support all that. But I also told her, I said, I think it would be really beneficial for you to make sure that you have a plan B on how to start a business in case you decide that you want to make more money or you get tired of working so much. That way you just have options, you have flexibility. And the thing is that because she worked with me, I had her working with me. Like if you guys ordered my book or anything, I mentioned her name's Nicole, that I mentioned how she's the one that ships out all your books. And so in the course of her working with me, I said, now you have a valuable skill. You know how to run a Shopify store. I said, at that point, all you got to do is find a product that people want. And I said, I know you know a lot about makeup and lashes. I said, do you know that that's a multi-billion-dollar industry? And so you get one good product that people want to buy from you, then that can really change your life. Like that can give you that extra two, $3,000 a month where you can go get, live in the mansion if you want to, or whatever it is you want to do, right? And that's so much better than simply being limited by how much money your boss decides they want to pay you, or fighting with your boss to get them to give you a raise. And then when they give you the raise ain't nothing anyway. It's like 5%. And then you're like, wait, I got a 5% raise, but inflation is 8%, 9%. I mean, you're going backward, right? So the best way to give yourself a raise and to accelerate your income is to know different ways to bring in income. Like, so for example, a lot of you sell stock options. That's another great way to supplement your income. Find those little supplements, and what happens is all those little supplements added up, especially if you have two people in the house or more that are all bringing in income, you can live really, really good. So you should think about income that way as opposed to thinking about it the old way where one job is giving you one stream, and that's very, very risky, and it's typically not enough for you to really live the life that you'd like to live. Even people that work for minimum wage, if they add and supplement with a little bit of basic financial literacy, learn a little bit about what it means to create a product and sell it, or a little bit about what's going on with stock markets and stock options. I've seen people's entire lives shift from that. I've literally seen people like that are Burger King employees. There's a guy I sat with him. He was in Chicago, and he makes $15 an hour, and he had this stock portfolio with like he had $20,000 in this stock portfolio, and he was making like an extra $1,000 a month, like selling his stock options, he was excited because his income doubled, or so, or not doubled, but it went up like 60% by doing this, and so there's little things out there that you can do. I just encourage you, look for the little things, right? Don't look for the big things or the shiny things, the little things, and that's what allows you to do well, prosper, and succeed in an economy where everybody ain't successful. I'm telling you, the people that are really running the economy, their goal is to kind of pimp you a little bit, right? So if you're not interested in growing outside the box and kind of thinking for yourself, then you're going to be vulnerable to that, because capitalism, to some extent, the critics of capitalism are correct. Capitalism can be predatory, and I don't want you to be a fish, I want you to be a shark. Just don't be out here eating people though, but at least be able to bite back. So that's the goal. All right. So anyway, make sure you're on the text list for the class. I'll send you some stuff later on. Tonight also we're doing Powernomics training, by the way, and I'll send you all a reminder for Powernomics training as well. We're reading Dr. Claude Anderson books because they be lying to us about Black history and stuff. And I guarantee you, if you come to our Powernomics training, you're going to learn at least two or three things that you never learned in school. And it's everything in terms of that expectation piece, right? When he's resetting your legacy and letting you know that what kind of people you come from. You come from a proud people, a very capable people, hardworking people, fearless people. That really just shifts how you view yourself. It shifts how you understand the mission. It shifts how we feel about ourselves in the world. We are not nobody's victim. I'm not sitting around here trying to be nobody's victim. Our goal is to win. All right. So do we agree? Give me a yes if you agree. We are winners. We are not sitting here waiting in the victim box. All right. So God bless you guys. Have a great day. I look forward to seeing you soon, and take care. Talk to you later. Bye bye.